Welcome to the Bible Gossip Podcast. I am your host, Katie Fellman. I am going to go book by book and chapter by chapter, verse by verse into the Bible. If you have never read the Bible before, now is a great time to join me. We are starting at Genesis, so let's go ahead and dive in. Okay, so we are diving into chapter 10. This is called Nations Descended from Noah. So the boys, I keep calling them the dudes, Noah and his family, his sons and their wives have landed, and we are calling this, where he landed is modern day Turkey. I think I keep using maps. I find it like super helpful to be like, okay, this is how far away they were. So modern day Turkey, this is going to tell us where everyone disperses, because they're all going different directions and starting their nations descended from Noah. So chapter 10, verse 1, these are the generations of the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, sons who were born to them after the flood. The sons of Japheth, Gomer, Magog, Madai, Javan, Tubal, Meshech, and Tiras. The sons of Gomer, Ashkenaz, Repheth, Togorma. These names help me. The sons of Javan, Elisha, Tarshish, Kittim, and Dodanim. From these, the coastlands peoples spread their lands, each with their own language or his own language, by their clans and their nations. So we're going to come back to that because that's a little confusing. I want you guys to remember right here, each with his own language by their clans and their nations. Just let's stick a pin in that. Verse 6, the sons of Ham, Cush, Egypt, Put, and Canaan. The sons of Cush, Seba, Havilah, Sapta, Rama, Sabteka. The sons of Rama, Sheba, and Dedan. Cush fathered Nimrod. Nimrod, he was the first on earth to be a mighty man. He was a mighty hunter before the Lord. Therefore it is said, like Nimrod, a mighty hunter before the Lord. 10, verse 10, the beginning of his kingdom was Babel, Erech, Akkad, Calneh, and the land of Shinar. Please, I apologize if these names are being just butchered to death. This is speak my own language, obviously. This is not easy. Verse 11, from that land he went into Assyria and built Nineveh. Oh man, Rehoboth, Iar, Kala, and Resen. Between Nineveh and Kala, that is the great city Egypt, fathered Ludim, Anamim, Lehebim, Tuhim, Pathrusim, Kasluhim, from whom the Palestinians came, and Kaphtorim. Oh, sorry guys, this is so hard, these names. Obviously, I'm glad we went with Peter, John, and Jebediah later down the road. Verse 15, Canaan fathered Sidon, his firstborn, and Heth, and the Jebusites, and the Amorites, Girgashites, the Hivites, the Architites, the Sinites, the Arvadites, the Zemarites, and the Hamathites. Afterward, the clan of the Kenites dispersed, and the territory of the Kenites extended from the Sidon in the direction of Gerar as far as Gaza, and in the direction of Sodom, Gomorrah, Admah, Zeboim, and as far as Lasha. These are the sons of Ham, by their clans, their languages, their lands, and their nations. Again, language. Put a pin in that. Verse 21. To Shem also he fathered the children of Eber, and the elder brother of Japheth children were born. The sons of Shem, Elam, Ashur, Arpachshad, Lud, Aram. These are the sons of Aram, Uz, Hol, Gether, and Mash. Arpachshad fathered Shelah, and Shelah fathered Eber. To Eber were born two sons. The name of one was Peleg, and we have a little note down here. Peleg means division. That's great. For in his days the earth was divided. There we go. And his brother's name was Joktan. Joktan fathered Almodad, Shalef, Hazmaraveth, Jerah, Hadaram, Uzul, Dikla, Obal, Abimael, Sheba, Ophir, Havilah, Jobab. All these were the sons of Joktan. And the territory in which they lived extended from Mesha in the direction of Sephir to the hill country of the east. These are the sons of Shem by their clans, their languages, their lands, and their nations. These are the clans of the sons of Noah, according to their genealogies in their nations, and from these nations spread abroad on the earth after the flood. So this is really just giving us who the players are in this part of the Bible, where they're spreading to. So Japheth went to Europe and the coastlands. Ham went to Africa, which includes Egypt, Ethiopia, and Libya. And Shem was more Eastern and Indian regions. The other thing in this, they bring up the Philistines. So I was like, well, that's interesting that they're foreshadowing the Philistines, or he's foreshadowing the Philistines. Like, who are the Philistines? So we know in Genesis, the Philistines are the bad guys in this story. We know the story of David and Goliath, right? So Goliath was a Philistine. And yeah, so the other thing I thought about too is Ham in the chapter before shamed his father for being naked and drunk. But yet I'm looking here, I'm like, man, Ham had a lot of children. Maybe not as many children as Joktan or Joktan. But even though, and this is where I think like God's grace comes in, is even though these people maybe aren't the best people in the world, or they've got sin in them, obviously, God still has a plan. And that's why these people go and they reproduce. They're told, how many times were they told to be fruitful and multiply? So they do what is asked of them. So that is chapter 10. Chapter 10 was really fast. It's really just genealogy and geography. And I really feel like we should just go right into chapter 11, which is the Tower of Babel. Now, reminder, I told you in this last chapter 10, like put a pin in that language thing, because what I think is I say this all the time too, what I think is interesting is it says right here, each with his own language by their clans in their nations. But yet here in the Tower of Babel, you're going to see a story about when the languages get mixed up. So I'm not totally sure. Maybe in chapter 10, it's speaking ahead of chapter 11 a little bit and saying like they were together and then they dispersed. But I'm not totally sure why that wouldn't go in order, but not everything does go in order, I'm noticing. So let's start with chapter 11. The Tower of Babel is what this is called. Chapter 11, verse 1. Now the whole earth had one language and the same words. See what I'm saying? Confusing. And as people migrated from the east, they found a plain in the land of Shinar and settled there. And they said to one another, come, let us make bricks and burn them thoroughly. And they had bricks for stone, and they had bitumen for mortar. And that again is like sap, it's pitch. Then they said, come, let us build ourselves a city and a tower with its top in the heavens, and let us make a name for ourselves, lest we be dispersed over the face of the whole earth. So they're trying to get to heaven. There's only one way to get to heaven, and that is by dying, but living a life where you are letting the Lord lead your walk, being a righteous person. And so these people are like, we'll just build a tower to get to heaven and we'll let ourselves in. And God's like, you guys. So I just imagine like, again, being a parent, you're looking down on these people and you're like, really? This is what you're doing? Okay. How many times have you looked at your kids and you're like, no, that's not what I said. You missed the whole point. and they have this bright idea. They're going to go and do something. And you're shaking your head like, you dorks, why are you doing this? So I kind of think they're not doing it to be blasphemous, but I think they're doing it because they're saying right here, we're going to make a name for ourselves. So again, they're not building it like we're going to make this great tower so people can come and worship and cherish the Lord. No, they're like, we are going to get some recognition for being the crazy cool people who built this tower. So again, where they're standing, it's all the heart behind it, And so God's not loving this so much. So the Lord says, verse 6 here. Oh, just kidding. We're at verse 5. And the Lord came down to see the city and the tower which the children of man had built. So again, I think like parents like, Mom, look what I done. You're like, all right, let's see. And verse 6, and the Lord said, behold, they are one people and they have all the language. This is only the beginning of what they will do. And nothing that they propose to do now will be impossible for them. Come, let us go down and there confuse their language so that they may not understand one another's speech. So he's going, this is just the beginning. And look what happens when they work together, which is great, right? We love that. We want them to work together, but where are they going to stop? This is only the beginning, and they're building the Tower of Babel. They're getting to the heavens, and he's like, we can't let this continue. Like, this is going to get out of hand quickly. So again, I think God is showing us mercy. He's not taking these people down. He's not flooding. He's not killing anyone. He's just saying, no, we're not doing this. So he comes down and he changes their speech. So they are unable to complete their task because now there's confusion and they don't understand one another. So verse 8, so the Lord dispersed them from there. So the Lord dispersed them from there over the face of the earth, and they left off the building city. Therefore, its name was called Babel, because there the Lord confused the language of all the earth. And from there, the Lord dispersed them over the face of the earth. So I think that's obviously where that word comes from, Babel. When babies babble, it's just, we're not quite sure what you're saying. It's confusion. You're making noises, but nothing is computing. So, pretty interesting. The other cool thing about the Tower of Babel, I did a little bit of research on this. So for me, I live with someone who's a non-believer. So I'm going, oh, we have proof. We finally have proof. So the Noah's Ark has never been found, right? We think we know where it landed, but we have not found it. However, the Tower of Babel. So the Tower of Babel there's archaeological evidence of a few, they're called ziggurats. And so like a pyramid, but with steps. And so it's not a perfect triangle, it's a step down pyramid, is what the people built, right? So there's quite a few of those in Mesopotamia, which is now modern day Iraq. So here's where it gets cool, is Alexander the Great, who we have historical evidence existed. We have tablets that he was written about him and his army. He was known for having a great army. He was king right when he was 20, and he was very into his military. Alexander the Great has historical artifacts which proves his existence in his time as king of Macedon. So by the time he was king, he had the remains of the Tower of Babel, because at this point, like weather, storms, you know, just life, it's old, it's an old building, things start to fall away. And so by the time he is king, he sees that the Tower of Babel is in ruins, so he has it taken down. And so that right there proves it existed. You can't take something down that didn't exist, right? So for me, I think that's kind of cool, and gives a little backing up to our argument, right? And so, because that's the challenge when we are talking about God with someone who is a non-believer, you know, they want the proof. They want the proof. And so it's like, okay, well, let me give you like history? Here's a little snippet for you. So I think that's pretty interesting. So anyways, the Tower of Babel. Okay, so we are getting into Shem's descendants in verse 10 here. These are the generations of Shem. Shem was 100 years old. He fathered Arphaxad. I like even Googled these. Arphaxad 2 years after the flood, and Shem lived after he fathered Arphaxad 500 years and had other sons and daughters. When Arphaxad had lived 35 years, he fathered Shelah. And Arphaxad, after he fathered Shelah 403 years and had other sons and daughters. When Shelah lived 30 years, he fathered Eber. And Shelah lived after he fathered Eber 403 years and had other sons and daughters. When Eber had lived 34 years, he fathered Peleg. And Eber lived after he fathered Peleg 430 years and had other sons and daughters. When Peleg had lived 30 years, he fathered Reu, and Peleg lived after he fathered Reu 209 years and had other sons and daughters. When Reu had lived 32 years, he fathered Serug. Is that right? Oh, it's Serug. And Reu lived after he fathered Serug 207 years and had other sons and daughters. When Serug had lived 30 years, he fathered Nahor. And Serug lived after he fathered Nahor 200 years and had other sons and daughters. When Nahor had lived 29 years, he fathered Terah. And Nahor lived after he fathered Terah 119 years and had other sons and daughters. When Terah had lived 70 years, he fathered Abram, Nahor, and Haran. Okay, so what do you notice in this bunch of descendants? We're starting with Shem. Shem lived 500 years. And then we get down here to Nahor. How long did Nahor live? 119 years. So God had said, so I keep going back and forth this 120 years thing. God had said he's basically cutting man down to 120 years, right? Back in one of the earlier chapters. So then I thought, okay, well, maybe he was just giving a 120-year warning before the flood. But now I'm thinking he's coming through on that 120-year promise that we're not going to let. And I truly think it's because he's seeing that the heart of man is evil. And we're just not going to let them live as long and let this wickedness just occur for longer on the earth. The other part, too, is before the flood, the world was perfect, right? So it was the Garden of Eden. Everything was beautiful. The plants, and also, interesting enough, they were more plant-based as well in their eating habits. And now they're eating meat and things have been flooded. So maybe the earth is not as fruitful as it was before. Maybe, I don't know, maybe there's like new bacterias because, like mold and water and flood and all that. Like, who's to say? So their lifespans, all we do know here is their lifespans are shortening. So now we're in verse 27, Terah's descendants. Verse 27, now these are the generations of Terah. Terah fathered Abram, Nahor, and Haran fathered Lot. Haran died in the presence of his father Terah in the land of his kindred, in Ur of the Chaldeans. And Abraham and Nahor took wives. The name of Abraham's wife was Sarai, and the name of Nahor's wife Milcah, and the daughter of Haran, and the father of Milcah, and Iscah. Now Sarai was barren. She had no children. Interesting. Terah took Abraham his son, and Lot, the son of Haran, his grandson, and Sarai, his daughter-in-law, the son of Abram's wife, and they went forth together from Ur of the Chaldeans to go into the land of Canaan. But when they came to Haran, they settled there. The days of Terah were 205 years, and Terah died in Haran. So they are being sent on a journey. They left Ur of the Chaldeans, and they went, and he only took some of his family, and they went to Haran. So this just shows they're spreading, they're taking over other regions, and lifespans just aren't as long as they used to be. So pretty interesting. We have the Tower of Babel. We have some genealogy, a lot of genealogy. We have some geography where they are. And we're just going to keep on moving right along. So, chapter 12 will be next. Come back for that.